What's up, guys? This will be a sort of a follow-up video from the last one I put out where I covered the attitudes of each slot. And the point of this video is to share some techniques that I use to understand how a function operates in any slot. I received a comment asking me to go over a 6-slot TI in my INTJ video, and the INTJs were pretty receptive, so I figured why not. So we'll start off with that, but I want this video to be for everyone so that I can kind of share the approach that works for me when I try to study a specific function in any slot for any type. But I'll be focusing on the 6th specifically for this video because that's the one that everyone likes to talk about. So let's go ahead and get started. So what I can recommend is before you look at the slot and the function inside it, first try to consider the personality type as a whole and try to come up with your own examples from your own life about people that you know personally that reflect, the INTJ personality, for example. And if you don't have any, try to consider some celebrities or famous people instead. Then try and build on that image by looking at the first and the second functions and what they represent, because that'll generally show you the personality type, by itself, generally. After that, look at the function itself, so TI, and then the attitude of the 6th slot. So that being said, there was an old INTJ YouTuber called Michael Castillo, like 4 or 5 years ago. Maybe some of you guys remember him. He described NITE as a warehouse of concepts. So I want to give credit where credit's due and kind of adapt that metaphor in order to understand how TI operates in the 6th. So instead of warehouse of concepts, think of NIT as a sort of museum that INTJs have in their minds, and each exhibit like a conceptual system that they know, they've tried, and they've tucked away in their minds. That's kind of like NITE. So TI, what is TI? Like I said in my last video, it sort of relates to induction or inductive logic, but what I like to think of TI is kind of like a childlike energy. I didn't say immature, I said childlike, in the sense that it's innocent like a child and can only understand things by deconstructing them and breaking them down into a million pieces. So it's kind of ruthless and emotionless in that way, but it's innocent. Now, the 6th. The attitude of the 6th makes TI kind of like a loose cannon, something that INTJs don't really trust because it conflicts with the systems that they already have. See, like, TE wants to construct and build things up systematically. TI wants to break things down. That's the kind of conflicts that INTJs have between their 2nd and their 6th. So going back to the analogy, TI kind of like sneaks into the museum while the T guards are sleeping. It's like do 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 do, and it gets excited because there's lots of stuff to take apart. And so it goes over to Exhibit A. It reads the sign. It spots all the grammatical errors, punctuation, etc., if there are any. It reads and it digests, but it doesn't really care to fix them. And it goes to the exhibit itself. And this being a metaphor for a system that the INTJ has constructed. And TI, because it's so ruthless, it'll push and pull, prod and poke. It won't give up until it gets inside that system. And sooner or later, it'll find a hole. It'll find an imperfection, an error, and when it does, the whole thing comes tumbling down. So just one weakness, one soft spot, and the whole system shatters. And then TI goes and analyzes each individual piece, of what remains. Like, what's this? What's that? No wonder it didn't work. And does it try to build it up back again? No, that's not TI. TI wants to go to the next exhibit. And so what'll happen is, if TI doesn't get stopped, it'll just break apart the whole museum. And that's why INTJs don't trust it, because it's uncontrollable, because it's in the 6th. And no matter how confident or fortified the TE systems are, TI will always find a way to pick them apart if it has enough time. So what usually happens is, like, the TE security guards will come in and they'll stop TI, and TI will innocently tell them about all the imperfections it's found, and then TE gets mad and it sends TI to the timeout corner, and TE has to build up the systems back by itself, and then when it does it, It realizes that, TI was right, and it'll try to, TE will try to like put them back together and perfect them so that they're even more solid than they were before. That's the kind of thing that goes on in the mind of an INTJ, at least, from my opinion, from understanding the functions. And, I'm not trying to pick on INTJs or something. Like, this is generally how the sixth is, and whatever function is there for any type. Going back to the INTJ or ISTJ type as a whole, this is what makes them perfectionists. A lot of people think that it's TE because of the way they plan things, but it's actually six slot TI that refines those plans and makes them their own worst critic. Like, six slot TI, it kind of reminds me of the song My Own Worst Enemy. They're so critical of themselves and their own way of understanding that sometimes that comes out onto others, and they'll be like, this guy's an idiot, this guy's stupid, this guy's a moron, blah blah blah. It sort of makes them too logically intelligent for their own good. They'll have such a good understanding of how systems work, but at the same time, you know, they'll critique themselves. They'll be very good at calling out BS when they see it. Very good at that. And again, I'm not picking on, INTJs or anything. It's just the nature of the sixth. Another example would be myself, like six slot FI. And just like six slot TI wants to challenge systems, six slot FI wants to challenge ethics and sort of, question my own identity. INFJs are like that. Six slot FI is like, who are you really? Don't show yourself. Don't be the center of attention. What are your ideals? INFJs and ISFJs have a serious problem with that. They don't really want to show themselves or who they really are. Like, go look at my INFJ video, for example, and look at how Liam always focuses on others. That's the FE-FI conflict, and the sixth and the second. Like, me and myself, I don't ever rewatch my videos once I put them out. I'll just cringe and I'll get anxious and focus on what I said wrong or where I mumbled or stuttered or something, or how I could have said something better. Yeah, FI in the sixth, it's no joke. But the point is that, like, we can learn from our sixth. It's a harsh teacher, but at the same time, it can be right. It's our hidden talent. It's weird. It's strange. It's foreign. For ISTPs, ISFPs, SI will be there. And, like, DJ R&D use this, so again, credit where credit's due. They'll be like, when they go on a date with someone they really like, they'll go back to their rooms afterwards and kind of like replay what happened exactly frame by frame in slow motion, going over each and every detail. Like, was it okay? What did I say? Was my hair all right? Did they notice the wrinkle on my shirt? Is the date ruined? Or like, after, an important basketball match or something, they'll literally replay it in their heads and be like, I should have passed the ball. Why did I shoot? My teammate was open. I should have passed the ball. I should have pushed myself harder. I'm better than that. Like SI stuff, like looking at every single detail. For ENFPs, ESFPs, FE will be in the six, and they'll be like, when they host a party and invite all their friends and everyone's on their phones, they'll tap into their FE, look at the group dynamics. They'll feel the group energy as a whole, and they'll be like, am I a good host? Am I boring? Is this boring? Why isn't anyone talking? Am I boring? I need to fix this. Should I tell a joke? And then they'll tell a joke. And then everyone will laugh except two people, and they'll notice the two people that didn't laugh. I'm like, why didn't they laugh? Like six slot FE stuff. Okay, I'll do one more, probably the hardest of them all to explain. An I in the sixth for INFPs, INTPs. And guys, I'm sorry if I missed your type. I don't want this video to get too long. Try this exercise for yourself and see what you can come up with. But yeah, an I in the sixth. It's basically impossible to explain it because no matter what I say, these guys will be like, nope, I just consider all the possibilities. Why would you ever not want to consider the possibilities? But I'll try. So imagine, like, you go up to an INFP or INTP and you have a small jar of jelly beans and you ask them how many jelly beans do you think that are inside, and they'll love this sort of stuff because then any kicks in and it starts thinking about all the different possibilities. But the idea is that NI also wants to have some fun, and it's like, I know, pick this one, it's this number, and then they'll consider it, it'll stick out to them, but then they just keep thinking about all the possibilities, and then they'll go with that one that stuck out and get it perfectly right, like 72. And you'd be like, see, that's an I. And they'll be like, no, I just consider all the possibilities. See, it's so hard. Another example is like, say they're doing their laundry or something, and then one idea, one concept pops into their mind out of nowhere. And I in the sixth, like class will be canceled tomorrow. And they'll be like, that's interesting. Where did that come from? And then they'll all the possibilities and be like, well, the teacher didn't look too good today. It did rain. He was sneezing a bit. 1,000 other things. And then the next morning they'll get an email that class is canceled, and they'll be like, good thing I consider all the possibilities. And even if you try to explain that, and I started the whole idea train with that one insight, they'll be like, oh, so NI is psychic. Great. And then they'll just brush it off. See, it's so hard. Look, I'll try and show you by going over what I used in my INTP video, but I reversed the clip. So what happens is that he sees one move that sticks out to him with the knight, that's NI, but then he's like, no, any, all the possibilities. Half these moves aren't even legal, they don't make sense, but I don't care, possibilities, and move the knight. It's kind of like that. That's why in that video, he keeps saying, I know what to do. I know what to do. That's the NI talking. But see, the point is that whatever's in the sixth is strong, but it isn't always right, which is why, whatever's there, you'll have this attitude that you can't trust it. It's strong, it's powerful, it'll interest you, but it'll be strange and foreign, and you won't know where it's coming from. That's the general attitude of the sixth. So let's try and compare that to what an INTJ chess player might be like. So an I's in the first, so they have this natural, it'll come very naturally for them to just perceive the chessboard and like move the pieces with their mind. But if we're looking at a position on the chessboard, then they'll be able to analyze it with TE and use a strategic, systematic approach. They'll compare it with like what high-ranking chess players might do in this situation, what has been proven to work in the past. They'll be very familiar with strategy through position. So that's how kind of NITE will work, and they won't be overwhelmed with the moves that aren't even legal or just all the possibilities, because NI will be in the fifth, so it'll be quiet. Okay, and NI will be way too powerful for NI to kick in here. So once they've perceived the board, they've become familiar with the strategy of the position of both, their own chess pieces and the opponent's. Then the TI comes in, and it just starts hacking away at the opponent's pieces, and it will find the weakness. It will find the hole. It'll expose it, and it'll relay that information back to NITE, and they'll try and crush their opponent basically. So that's kind of how like the first, the second, and the sixth would be like for the INTJ, using chess as an example. So once all of this stuff has been calculated, analyzed, then they'll carry out the move. They'll literally take the action of moving the chess piece forward. And again, you can just compare that to like how they approach planning, how they can be so perfectionistic with how they come up with plans or systems in their head. So I hope that helps. Okay guys, I know this video was a bit heavy on theory. My channel's still new, I'm just testing the waters, so putting out this information for whoever's interested in this kind of stuff. But if you're watching my channel just for the examples, don't worry, they're coming up. We'll be looking at the 8 extroverted types next, so stay tuned for more. You can help me out by liking and subscribing, and yeah, take care, guys.